The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
All right, hello, good evening. Welcome to another live episode of the ONG Strike Zone. I'm Brian Fulford. That's Kelvin Rozier, Marcus Green joining us. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Doing good, my brother. Great to be here.
Doing great.
But by the way, I'm in the doghouse a little bit, messing around with y'all guys because today's our anniversary.
Uh-oh.
But I do have the blessing.
Hey, well, we thank Mrs. Rozier and happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Anniversary. You know, I don't sing as well as Kofi, but I mean, you know, I try to.
No, hey, no, you don't.
Gotcha. Yes, you're right. Hey, so Marcus, you got the baseball jersey on, man. For a fitting good reason.
Yeah, I had to break it out, you know. So I was doing it work.
Broke out those bats this morning.
Oh yeah, I was like, I got all these meetings, so I didn't get a chance to check everything out until lunchtime, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
That's all right.
Yeah, it was a beautiful sight to see. We're gonna get into talking about that, along with a bunch of other stuff going on. So I want to thank everybody for jumping in, joining us early on Facebook, YouTube. Those watching us on Twitter, we appreciate you for jumping in early. Kenneth Rozier jumping in first in. Shout out to fam. J Matt jumps in there as well. Mary 305 gets in. We say hey to Mary. Chuck Hunt always checking in from Monroe, Louisiana. Good evening. Melissa Wilson jumping in as
the high.
Bull. Good to see you, Bull. Good to see you doing well. All right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And Mary 305 sends the happy anniversary wishes to you, Kelvin. We're
Thank
gonna
you.
keep
Thank
that
you.
keep that good vibe going today. Want to remind you early on to hit that thumbs up button wherever you're watching the stream. Please hit the thumbs up button. Facebook, like, YouTube, thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. We're well over 2,000 viewers on the Jericho broadcast. I should say 2,000 subscribers. Hey, Tamara T. We're up to 2,000 subscribers. All organic, no paid for users. So I mean that's pretty big. You know what I'm saying? We can increase it. You know, we got a lot of shows that we do on the Black College Sports Network, and they all are running on the Jericho Broadcast Network's feed, which is the parent company of the Black College Sports Network. So that's why when you go to the YouTube page, you see my JBN1 Jericho Broadcast Networks. You can also download the Jericho Broadcast Networks app on the Google Play and Apple App Store. Just search my JBN or my BCSN. Apple App Store, Google Play. So, yeah, buddy, I woke up feeling good this morning, man. I had to do a little promo video this morning to get people excited because I was feeling good, man. You know, we've done. Let's see, Drew and I did a show on Sunday previewing the tournament. And, you know, I was still feeling good after talking to Hunter last week on our show. Then, of course, you know, Dr. Cavill's show on Tuesday, I ended up producing that one. So Drew and Charles Bishop were there. Charles Edmond, who did the play-by-play. I was hyped up. I just had a good feeling. And then when I saw the postseason awards, I was pissed. I was excited and pissed for my guy Ty Jackson. Yes, I mean, look, we'll get into talking about that in a second, but we got to talk about the game first. So I was feeling really good about the game, and you know, a 9:00 start. Which, hey, for us, 9:00 Eastern is really what time is it Central? That's 8:00 Eastern, right? Or Central?
Mm-hmm. Central.
Yeah, Central. Yeah. So I just had a feeling, you know, Texas Southern wasn't going to be as sharp as they probably might be, but then again, I just believed in us, man. You saw, I just believed in us. So anyway, let's break down this game. I don't know if you want to go let's go like try innings. Let's go in thirds. Let's talk about the first 3 innings, guys. We'll go about the first 3 innings. Just impressions or thoughts as we go around again. You know, FAMU final score. You know, FAMU ends up defeating Texas Southern by a total score of 9-1. But look, first 3 innings, 0-0 ball game.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 things that I noticed, A, was Hunter Veets was dealing. I loved his pace early on. I was a little nervous about the fact that we were leaving. I think in the first 3 innings, we left like 5 runners on base. What were your initial observations, Kelvin, and then Marcus?
Well, we pitched our ace, our number 1, and he pitched like he's pitched all year. Frankly, he's pitched like the ace of the staff. You know, he kept runs off the board. We only for the game we had 1 error, so our errors were down. And like you say, the first 5 innings, man, we didn't score. Nobody scored until the 5th inning, and that was a home run if I remember correctly. And we had a guy who hit 2 home runs this game, so he was hot. So it was kind of what I expected. We all going into the tournament said that the East is the stronger side of SWAC baseball versus the West, and at least for this game, it was they beat a West team too.
Yeah, we kind of lost you a little bit, Kelvin. But go ahead. Your thoughts, your initial thoughts, first half of the ball game, where Kelvin said it went all the way. I mean, we didn't score the first runs until the 5th inning, top of the 5th. Jan Michael Bastardo with the solo home run in the top of the fifth. And it stayed like that through the first 6 innings. So Marcus, your thoughts in there in the first half of the ball game?
Yeah, I look back at it, not the whole game, but just the box score, and I saw that it was, basically, like a pitcher's duel in terms of the score. I mean, I
It
didn't
was.
keep track of how strikeouts were going, but you always get worried, and I'm a Braves fan, so if you don't have Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavin out there, those 1-0 games get you a little worried. So I was like, "Ugh." Even when we had a 1-0 lead, I was like, okay, we're gonna have to put some runs on the board to make sure we get enough. But I was, with Hunter out there, I guess my only concern is that I know the kids are, well, not call them kids, but they're young. They're a lot younger than I am. So, and we know he's our ace. So, how many times is he going to get the ball this weekend? So, I wasn't sure. I knew we had to start him in the game one to make sure we got to the second game, but I'm just looking forward. How often can we tap into the well?
Yeah, it actually for the first 6 innings, it was a pretty good pitcher's duel. The young man Abraham De Leon from Texas Southern.
I believe he was first team. He's either the first team or second team all SWAC.
Yeah,
That's another thing I was worried about. I was not familiar with their players, but I think they had at least 2 or 3 first team folks. And I think our only first team candidate or and selectee was, I don't know if it was Hunter. I don't know if he made second
it
team.
was Hunter. It was Hunter.
Okay.
It was Hunter. Yeah,
And
it
so I
was.
was worried about, I didn't know what kind of team they had and what kind of firepower they had.
Well, we'll get into the SWAC honors thing in a second, but I'm just gonna just preface it by saying the first 6 innings, the fact that we left before we really broke it open in the 8th inning, I think it was, where we scored 4 runs. And I mean, look, in the final 3 frames, we scored 2 in the 7th, 4 in the 8th, 2 in the 9th. We had 2 bases loaded. We left the bases loaded 2 previous times prior to the 8th inning. And we at one point going into like the 7th, I think we had 10 runners left on base. So it was just speaking to we had opportunities, and it was just a matter of time. And I think what we're really hoping on is that Hunter just continued to pitch well. And I think there was one little moment where I forgot the inning here. I'm trying to go back through because I was live tweeting the whole game. There was an inning where we missed a double play. I think Will Brown, the shortstop, had a tough fielding situation, and he missed out on getting the force and the double play. Because it's like if he would have fielded it, he could have got the double play, but he kind of bobbled the ball a little bit and then even missed out on the force tag at second. Okay. Next pitcher, I think at that point, Coach Shoup comes out, talks to Hunter, because it was still like a 1-0 ball game, if I'm not mistaken. So he comes out, he talks to Hunter. Next at bat, Brown makes a nice double play. Literally, the ball comes right to the same spot where he just was. He steps on second, throws it to first, double play. Hunter's pumped up, and we get out of the inning, and then we come right back in the top of the 7th and crack it with 2 runs. And I think that's where the dam started to break, and then Texas Southern started going into their bullpen and so on and so forth. And we end up with 9 total runs on 11 hits. Texas Southern gets 1 run on 8 hits. They commit 2 errors in the ball game, and that's just kind of how that game rolled. Jan Michael Bastardo hit 2 homers. He hit a homer, the solo homer, and then he followed up with a 3-run shot to dead center. That was wow. That was a nice shot. I mean, the dead center field, the one that he hit there. So it was a nice play. Hey, look, we got while we're here early in the segment talking about this SWAC baseball game, we've got the voice of that game that's going to join us now. He had a busy day today, so let me bring in Mr. Charles Edmond to kind of talk on while we're waiting on Kelvin to get his stream figured out. We're going to bring in Charles, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the voice that you heard this morning. Hopefully he's still got a voice, and that's Charles Edmond. Normally you hear him with Alcorn State Sports Radio, but he's doing the play-by-play, and I think we got Kelvin now. So there we go. We got Kelvin all in. Charles, how you doing tonight? Thanks for taking some time to join us tonight.
Man, it is an honor and a pleasure looking at all this orange and green here. Man, I'm nervous. I'm scared. I don't know what to
do. you should be. In a good way, though.
In a very good way. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, well, look, we're excited, man. 9 o'clock start. That's tough for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then I think you had talked about. I heard you on Tuesday's show talk about most of the teams didn't get an opportunity to practice. So, kind of just give a little background to people who aren't familiar with kind of the previous 24 hours leading up to the game and what kind of challenges, not just FAMU, but Texas Southern, what they might have been facing as well.
Well, I think all the teams yesterday had a challenge in terms of wanting to get onto the field. Most coaches that I talk to in baseball, they want to get on the actual field that they're playing on just to see how the hops and how the ground balls fare. When you're playing on turf, that's one thing. It's pretty true. But when you're on grass, it's a little different. And I know a couple of coaches, Omar Johnson of Jackson State being one, he's pretty anal, if you will, if he doesn't get a chance to work on the field. Now, because of rain yesterday, they had the field covered, and every team had to work in their football practice facility. They have an indoor facility, so you took some ground balls there, but that's not quite the same as if you're actually on the field. They have an indoor batting cage, so you're able to take your cuts there. But in terms of simulating the conditions that you would see on game day, wasn't quite like that. But nonetheless, I mean, look, you got to tip your hat to the Florida A&M coming out. And I tell you what, that 9 a.m. game to me, whether it's softball or baseball, that 9 a.m., 3 p.m. bracket is the toughest bracket, especially if you lose that first game. Because if you do, then you got to come back at 9 tomorrow. And then you win, you got to come back at 9 o'clock the next day. And so you got 3 straight 9 a.m. games. But give Florida A&M credit. They battled, they grinded. Ristardo with 2 blasts, the first 2 home runs of the tournament. They got the run support they needed. They got the pitching that they needed. And, for Texas Southern, it was kind of par for the course the way they ended the regular season. They struggled to make plays in the field, even though it didn't cost them then. Their pitching faltered, especially their relief. So this is what the tournament's all about, man. I mean, you got to get it done. What you did behind you doesn't even matter. And for FAMU, it's full speed ahead. They look really, really good. Got good performances pitching. Starter with 2 home runs, 4 runs batted in. A good start for the Rattlers. We'll see if it continues.
Go ahead, Kelvin. Any questions you got for Charles?
Yes, Charles. I want you to compare the tournament being in Atlanta for the first time to the previous ones, and what kind of crowd for Wednesday? Was it similar? Was it a little more? Just talk about the environment of playing at Georgia Tech's baseball stadium and in Atlanta.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think for this being day one, for this being the first time in Atlanta, I saw some energy in the crowd. I mean, it's tough anyway to watch a baseball game at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't care where it is. If it's in LA, if it's in New York, if it's in Hawaii, it doesn't matter. A 9 a.m. game is tough for everybody. As a matter of fact, Brian Fulford, I can share this story. I talked about it. I was actually late. My timing was off. I got in the press box 3 minutes before we went on the air. I thought it was
you like us.
Yeah, I almost didn't make it for the start. Charles Bishop
he like you and Kobe.
Yeah, he was sitting in my seat because and Andrew Roberts of the SWAC office was calling me, and I had my time off. I thought it was 9 o'clock. I thought it was 9 o'clock this time, but it was actually 8 o'clock Central Time. So I almost didn't make it, but it was some good crowds so far today. I thought the energy picked up as the afternoon, the noon, and 3 o'clock games rolled on. But being in Atlanta, I think as the week goes on, as the games pick up, I do think that the crowds will get bigger and better. I mean, I think you have great alumni bases here in this city for all the schools. So I would not be surprised if the attendance picked up. And we'll see if that's the case. I think the weather will be good until Saturday. I think Saturday and Sunday look pretty dicey. But I think what you're going to see, what you saw today and tomorrow and Friday, I think will be fine. But I think it's a nice venue. Parking is fine. I think it's not too cavernous. It's not too small. I think it's just the right size in terms of what the SWAC can offer. And I think if the fan bases come out, which I think they will, you can't go wrong with Atlanta. A lot to see and a lot to do. And then you add SWAC baseball in the mix. I think so far so good here in day one.
Marcus, what you got? Any questions for Charles?
Yeah, actually, too, kind of continuing on the theme that you're mentioning, with the tournament being in Atlanta, with that not necessarily being the home of any particular SWAC team, how do you expect this to fare compared to previous tournaments that may have been a little bit more in the traditional SWAC footprint? But also on the flip side, since I wanted to ask, how would you preview the West in terms of the competition versus the East? And I guess you're supposed to be neutral, but what's your prediction for who you would expect to see make it through, at least to the semifinals and maybe even the finals?
Well, it is different. I mean, being here in Atlanta, and Atlanta has always been a city that in years past, when you talk about the SWAC baseball tournament being here in Atlanta, Atlanta has come up in years past. I could reel off a bunch of places where the SWAC baseball tournament has been, starting in Natchez, Mississippi, twice in Jackson, Birmingham, Fort Worth, Shreveport, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. So the SWAC tournament has been all over the map, and it's been some good attendance in most cases. In some places, not as much. In Fort Worth, a little bit of a stretch there. Shreveport was well attended, but I think Atlanta, because it's kind of the mecca where you have a lot of big alumni bases in this city for all the schools. I think as teams continue to win, I think you'll see a lot more participation. I think a lot more folks will show. So I think Atlanta, so far, it's a hit. And actually, the city of Atlanta wanted SWAC baseball to be here. Commissioners talked about that. It's not, even though it's at Georgia Tech Stadium, the city of Atlanta actually reached out to the conference to bring the tournament here. So I think because of that, I think that helps a lot. I think as far as the Western Division is concerned, you look at the West. You look at Southern, who won today, the underdogs, they got it done. Prairie View did not get it done today. Grambling and Jackson State are playing right now, and Texas Southern didn't get it done today. Right now, I think you would say the West is kind of on shaky ground through day one. That Southern win over Bethune-Cookman was something special. They had 7 extra base hits, and they were kind of reeling until the last couple of innings. And what you're seeing, at least through the first couple of games, was teams getting it done late. FAMU pulling away late. I think the Bama State Prairie View game is kind of an anomaly. Prairie View didn't have it from the jump. Bama State jumped out for nothing. But I think the Western Division right now, what you're seeing is that teams in the East are swinging the bats. Teams in the East are hitting the ball over the ballpark, hitting it out of the ballpark. And as we can expect, teams in the East are getting some really good pitching. So far, so good. The East is living up to the billing, and Southern University is holding up the mantle for the West, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Before we jumped on the air, I was looking the score. I think Jackson State was up 5-2. I don't know if is that still the current score in that situation, or that game rather.
Yeah, I think right now it's Jackson State. That's the one wild card team to me. That's you just never know. A lot of folks kind of counted out Jackson State. And I talked to Omar Johnson the other day, and he said, "Hey, don't sleep on JSU. They have struggled this year. If you follow SWAC baseball, Jackson State's typically a team that's at the top of the heap in the East. A couple of years ago, they went 24-0, one of the great regular seasons we've seen, only to lose to Southern University in the championship game. And they really don't talk about it that much. And really, Southern doesn't talk about it either, considering they pull off one of the big upsets. But, Jackson State's a team that they've got the tournament experience. Omar Johnson's been there and done that. And if Jackson can get that done, that will be a huge upset. But Grambling's up 6-5. So Grambling's a team just like the West, what I've predicted. They're a team that can score a lot of runs. The question is, and Davin Pierre in the second year was saying, hey, I got to find a third starter. And if their pitching can hold up, they can score as many runs. Grambling, to me, is like the Jackson State of previous years, a team that can score a ton of runs, but can their pitching and bullpen hold up? And right now, it's a high-scoring game so far. They're scoring the runs, but, just like with Texas Southern going through 4 arms today, Mike Robb's got to make some decisions. He's got to make some decisions on what he can do to stop the bleeding because he can't get anybody out right now. And so, hey, we'll see if Grambling can continue to hold the mantle for the West. But right now, 6-5, Grambling, good update. AD Drew, as I'm looking at it, it's been a back and forth game, and that's what you would expect from Grambling and Jackson State. I think it could be a 12-11 game by the time that game's over with, if not more than that. And if that's the case, then how much pitching you got left as you go into tomorrow, whether you're winning or you lose that game. But so far, high-scoring game.
Hey, Kelvin, in terms of the schedule, didn't FAMU play the 9 a.m. route where we lost game 1, and then or did we win game 1? Because we were 9 a.m. last year. And then somehow I just recall having to play like 2 or 3 early morning games because we were in the elimination bracket. That was last year. Do you recall, Kelvin, Marcus, anybody out there, Charles?
I do not recall, but if they lost that 9 a.m. game, that first game, and they came back and won, then they would have another 9 a.m. game and have to come back and play a 3 on Friday. So that sounds right. If that is the case, when you're coming out of that losers bracket in that 9 a.m., 3 p.m. slot, you're going to be playing 3 straight 9 a.m. games if you want to go pretty far coming out of that side of the bracket.
Okay. I was just wondering because I'm just wondering if they switch, bracket B and A to the, how they do. I mean, it just seems like,
Nope.
Okay. All right. I feel like it'd be nice to get those 3 o'clock or even get the night game. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to touch that subject right now. I got another subject I'm gonna vent on, Charles.
Charles, yeah. While you there though, Brian, isn't it correct that you have the 2 sides and it's double elimination? So whoever they meet on Saturday, and is that double elimination the championship game too?
Well, the championship game is 1 game, and so if you have a team that's undefeated in the bracket, they go all the way. They're off on Saturday. If you have 2 teams on the 2 brackets that are undefeated, then there's no baseball on Saturday. You play for it all on Sunday. But if one of those teams is lost and they advance and eliminate other teams, you could have 1 game, or you could have 2 games. You can have no games on Saturday. You can have 1 game on Saturday. You can have 2 games on Saturday. It depends on how it flows. But and who knows? I mean, Alabama State looks really, really good. They've got all the pieces you need. They just dismantled Prairie View from the jump, and they look unstoppable right now. But that's today. Tomorrow's a whole nother day. But I've contended, even with softball, just like in baseball, if you're in that 9 a.m. bracket, it's a risk reward because you got to play early, but at the same time, if you handle your business, you're done. And so you get a chance to get off your feet. So that's, there's a risk reward to it all. But if you lose that 9 a.m. game and you get back on track, you got a couple more 9 a.m. games coming up.
Joining us right now, folks who are just jumping in, Charles Edmond, of course, doing the play-by-play. He did the play-by-play this morning of the FAMU Texas Southern game and then the Bethune-Cookman Southern game, which was the game that followed us. And I think one of the things that, as people explain this, and it's kind of following up on Kelvin's question, it really is almost 2 tournaments in one, almost where you have the A bracket is its own double elimination and where you get 1 winner, that makes it to the championship game. And then you have the B bracket, which is a double elimination with the one winner of that playing in the championship game. And so what you end up having is, because I think I hear people describe it as, or maybe in previous years, you would get to the championship, like when Jackson State, went unbeaten into the finals. They only played one game, and I think everybody kind of attributed that to television, right? Well, this really isn't attributed to television. This is really two brackets that forms into one. I don't recall how it was previously, but this one just feels put together a little bit better in terms of the way it's structured. Am I right on that, or am I off on that, or did they tweak it a little bit, Charles?
No, they haven't tweaked it. It is kind of like two tournaments into one. So you have the 9 a.m., 3 p.m. games that are bracketed together. Then you have the noon, 6 p.m. games bracketed together. Okay. So the winner of the 9-3 plays the winner of the 9-3. The loser plays the loser. So it's two brackets. But as you get to the end, you only play one game for the championship, as compared to in softball where you have a true double elimination. Softball's true double elimination. Right. Baseball is one game for it all, regardless of how you got there. And so it's a little bit different. But no, the format has not changed, and I don't think the format will change. There's been some talk behind the scenes of it being true double elimination. I don't see that happening. I don't see the oxygen for it. I mean, some coaches, and you've got some fairly new coaches, of course, with two new teams, can the light bulb can go off and say, hey, why not make this true double elimination? Just based on what I know, and based on, we got some coaches who've been around this league a while. I don't see the format changing, at least right now, but the idea can be had, and we'll see if that happens.
Okay, so before I toss it to you, Kelvin, with probably maybe a question leading up to tomorrow's matchup, Charles, I got to ask about the controversy regarding the SWAC Hitter of the Year. Might even be the SWAC Player of the Year. Okay, because Texas Southern's Dalen Adderley, batted .424 for the season overall, but in SWAC play, in conference games, he batted .389, I think it was, something like that. Ty Jackson of Florida A&M batted .394 overall, but in SWAC play in the East, where the pitchers are better, he batted .498 and led like 4 different categories. How is Ty Jackson not the hitter of the year? How is he a second team all SWAC? I mean, I hate to hate on the young man. I'm not, they're the outfielders, but I need somebody. I know the ADs and coaches vote. I don't know what they're looking at, Charles, but I'm red hot about Ty Jackson not being the hitter of the year in conference play in the better of the two divisions. Charles, your take.
Yeah, all I can say is that that's a little bit of injustice that was done right there. Again, just a little background and I know when you threw the numbers out there, and you're absolutely correct, you have to look at who's voting. Coaches and the sports information directors. People like me, people like you that follow this stuff do not get a vote. And I was talking with a coach the other day about maybe tweaking it, because all it takes is a vote from the coaches to change it. And once the coaches approve it, it gets to the commissioner, and it will be changed in terms of allowing some media people to vote on this. Because I think if you have that, I think the question you brought up, Brian Fulford, and you like to dig deep, you like to drill deep into the crust. I think if it gets to that level, then yes, the voting pattern will change, and there will be some media members that will get a chance to vote. And I think that will come up, and that will be for discussion. All I can say is that, in my own opinion, I think that there wasn't a lot of deep drilling into those numbers. And that's the reason why that happened. Because if you drill deep into it, you clearly would know that Jackson clearly has the numbers to be, all everything when it comes to having a bat in his hand. And so I think that's the only explanation I can give. In order,
and I didn't even bring up the non-conference schedule, Charles.
yeah,
You see that, right? I didn't even bring up strength of schedule in non-conference
yeah.
play.
I think if you look at just what's happening in conference, and if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna vote, then you need to look at you got to look at it all, but you have to shade it towards what you're doing in conference. And clearly, what Jackson did in conference is tremendous. But again, you have to look at the voting. You have to look at the voters. And nothing against the coaches or SIDs, but we all know, and at least I know, that sometimes SIDs don't follow baseball as closely as they should. Some schools don't have an SID and those type of things. And I'm not, knocking those schools, are doing the best they can. But this is why when you don't have a great ballot and you don't have the clear voting on that, this is where the controversy comes up. And something like this will come up, and people like Brian Fulford, who dig deep into these things. And there are a handful of others too now. I know a bunch of other folks who drill deep into the mantle, just like you do. And they have a very good point. And it's about data, it's about analytics and providing the proof. And there are a lot of people that don't. You do, and a few others do. And I think with that, what has to happen is someone, maybe FAMU's coach, needs to bring it to the surface.
Yeah,
and I think when we get to these spring meetings, I think that conversation has to be had. Right now, no, but the spring meetings are coming up here in a couple of weeks, and I think that's the time to bring it up and say, hey, look, what can we do to change the voting pattern? And I think if that happens, then I think you might get that. But as of right now, not knocking the voters that we have, not knocking the coaches or the SIDs. Again, they're all doing the best they can, but a little deep drilling would realize that it shouldn't have happened the way that it happened.
Kelvin, go ahead. You got the next question. We got a tie ball game now, Jackson State and Grambling. So a tie ball game, top of the 8th.
A lot more runs to go, I think. 6-6. I think the first team to 9 wins. Maybe. We'll see.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
So my question is more this time about the business side of the SWAC baseball tournament. I'm not sure how much information the SWAC office gives out, but I'm interested in sponsorships and the media broadcasting for the SWAC baseball tournament. I know you did it. Where has it been shown at? What platform? And now that it's in Atlanta, look like there's a lot of opportunity. I'm wondering, do you see a greater presence of corporate sponsorship or anything like that? And should it be on a larger media platform?
I think so. I think the SWAC Digital Network, we're trying to increase this thing a little bit. I have to say, there's opportunities. The SWAC is, of course, handling that, and so I think in a larger market like we are here in Atlanta, there's more opportunities. And I've heard a little bit of chatter just even in the stands. I think now that people know that SWAC baseball's in Atlanta, I think people want to get involved. And I think the conference office will circle the wagons and try to figure it out. But, playing it in an ACC stadium at Georgia Tech, I think there's opportunities out there. It's just a matter now of the SWAC deciding, because they control all of that stuff. Even though it's in an ACC stadium, it's still the SWAC brand. So I think there's opportunities there. I think as far as the media rights are concerned, obviously ESPN will have the SWAC championship game. So I think just having it on the SWAC platform all the way through the championship, I think it's a way for the SWAC to kind of get their hands around it. But, things change. I mean, we're in an ever-changing world in which, Black College Sports Network getting involved and some other things. So, there's always opportunities out there. It's just a matter of what fits what the SWAC wants to do. And I think with that, I think the SWAC will try to look at some other opportunities. But I think they're pretty comfortable with the way things are right now. But things can change. We're in an ever-changing media landscape in terms of broadcasting, the podcast, and all of that. So I think this is an ever-changing and ever-moving target.
Marcus, go ahead and get the last word in there with Charles.
All right. Actually, I was trying to formulate which question I wanted to ask. Based on what you've seen from the SWAC baseball this year, do we have any draftable? What players would you consider would be draftable for the ones that are draft eligible?
Yeah, that's a good question. We talked about that a little bit with Coach Kador, and they've got the HBCU the All-Star game up in Seattle, and I've asked that question, and I think that there's quite a few players that at least look pretty decent and should have the opportunity. You talked about your guy from FAMU, Adderley of Texas Southern. I think there's quite a few. The question is, will they get that opportunity? And it's tough out there when you're talking about baseball. There's just so many opportunities, and so many people want to get that opportunity, and we seem to be behind the eight ball on that stuff. And I'm hopeful that we can get those opportunities. But again, it's tough. It's tough out there, and so I think I would say, if I were to take a guess, I would say about a half dozen, maybe 3 arms, and maybe 3 bats that could be there. I mean, we've talked about 2, Adderley of Texas Southern and your guy Jackson. They're 2 right off the bat that clearly should get a look. But we've talked about this for other sports too, in the NFL and SWAC basketball. It's kind of the same conversation. But in baseball, I think there's more opportunity, and hopefully with this All-Star game coming up in Seattle in July, hopefully there will be some players that will get that opportunity.
Yeah, just in case folks didn't know, and I'm not gonna lie, prior to the broadcast, I didn't know that there is a Major League Baseball sponsored HBCU All-Star event happening in Seattle, Friday, July 7th. I know this, Charles, because I was looking up tickets, airline tickets. Hey, AD and I were like, yo, we got to get to Seattle. Now is the time to, if you're interested in going, now's the time to buy tickets, round trip tickets, less than $500. That's going and coming back if you're in Florida or Georgia. I mean, outstanding prices. But yeah, the All-Star game, Coach Kadar was saying that there's scouts in attendance there at the SWAC tournament. They're going to look to try to bring 50 HBCU guys to Seattle to participate in this thing. So this is going to be a huge kickoff. I know there's another All-Star weekend that our good friends at Minority Baseball Prospects do in June. And then, so add this to that. I mean, there's opportunities for guys. There are really good opportunities for guys to be seen by major league scouts in some nice platform areas. So I'd love, we'd love to see some of our guys, and hopefully we got a few Rattlers that make that get that opportunity.
I just, and just in a broader context of, because it's as an HBCU product myself, and want to see more of our players get to that next level. It's frustrating to me, and I would like to we talk about drilling deep. I would like to drill deep in talking to these scouts in the NFL, Major League Baseball, as to why. Get them in a room, lock the door, and just have a very intense conversation, and a brutal conversation, to be honest. I would just like to hear the brutality of it in terms of, hey, if we're just not good enough, that's one thing. Whatever the reason is, I would just like to know. And I think what has happened, and this is just, I don't know if we're getting off the rails on this subject or not, but I do think that a brutal conversation probably needs to be had, and it's going to be unpleasant. I think scouts don't want to talk about it, whether it's NFL scouts, whether it's MLB scouts, whether it's NBA scouts. I would just like the brutal truth. I mean, if we're just not ready and it takes more time for development, okay, let that be the reason. If a scout from the Golden State Warriors is telling you that, then you got to because scouts make a lot of money and they don't make a lot of mistakes. Scouts know what they're looking at. I mean, there are some misses. You get fired if you miss on some, but I'd like to know what the real reason is. I mean, and maybe that no one just wants to be brutally honest with us about it. I don't know. But I would just love to know the real reason why, the opportunities are there, but we're just not seeing it. And as a product of an HBCU myself, I would love to see more of it, but we're not. Why? And so I don't know if we'll ever get the real reason. I don't know if we'll get the brutal truth, but I would like to get the brutal truth. And I think if we get that, then you'll be like, okay, but we're not hearing that. We assume and we expect, but then on draft night, we don't see that. So I'm just wondering, I mean, maybe I'm off base on this, but I would just like to get the brutal truth and let it stand and let us talk about the brutal truth.
Well said. Well said. The Rattlers and the Hornets match up 3:00 Eastern tomorrow. Charles, any quick thought? I don't know. Are you doing that game, or do you you still doing the morning shift?
Yeah, I think I've got the morning shift, the 9 and the noon. I'm really looking forward to those two games to see if Texas Southern's going to bounce back. But look, Florida A&M looks really good. I think last year just the pitching and some plays that didn't go their way. You got to have some breaks too go your way to win. And I think the Rattlers got the long ball. They got the pitching. I was really surprised that they went a little bit deeper into their pitching, considering they had command of the game. But at the same time, if you get your top arms out, you save them for maybe on the back end because you're probably going to need them once you get that deep. So I can understand what Coach Shoup was doing. For me, it shows you what I know about baseball. I would probably, ride it out with what I had and save those arms instead of going to your number 8 or 7 guy. But I understand why, because you're probably going to need your 1 or 2 or 3 once you get later on. If you got one drop of gas in the tank, that one drop might get you to your final destination. So I get it. I do get it. We'll see.
All right, we'll see. Rattlers get a 9-1 victory today over Texas Southern. We'll see what the number 2 pitcher or, what we do against Alabama State. We're not scared of them. It's just our pitching just needs to be able to come through tomorrow. So
pitching, defense, and hitting. We just played them last weekend. And all the games were competitive. We had opportunity. A couple of them went extra innings, right? One of them went 14 innings. Yeah. So we know we won. So we know we can compete with them. I think what it's gonna come down to is, first off, getting to a good start, not falling behind early, and then second, being able to close out. Because how they've beaten us, which they're beating us 4 out of 5, I think. 5 out of 6. How they've traditionally beat us this year is because, they get to our bullpen. We lost one game with Hunter Vick's 1-0 the first time we played them. So, Hunter has kept them down. Outside of that, they've just out hit us. Then I think a couple of games we had some extra outs, some unearned runs. So we just got to play a clean game.
Yeah, the one thing that FAMU did have, though, FAMU had early opportunities. I mean, they scored 9 runs today, and they left 7 or 8 on early. They left the bases loaded twice against a team like Bama State that's got good pitching. If you can get that and you can put some pressure, we'll see. But you can't afford to have the LOB column filled up. LOB means runners left on base. Yep. You get those opportunities against a good team like Bama State, you got to be able to drive home some runs. That's going to be one of the more exciting games tomorrow because those two teams, it seems like, Brian, and you all can explain this to me a little bit. It seems like FAMU and Alabama State got a pretty good rivalry going. I mean, 2 schools not too far apart. As they say, quiet as it's kept, and I'm learning this a little bit. FAMU and Bama State got a pretty good rivalry going. 2 schools not that far away. A lot of energy with those 2 teams.
And if my memory serves, I think Bama State's coach was BCC's coach a few years ago.
Right.
So he got poached. So there's a lot more history there than just the being in the SWAC.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. That's Coach Melendez.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Charles, thanks for your time tonight. Appreciate it. It's been a long day. We appreciate you jumping in. Make sure to check out the SWAC Digital Network. Just go to youtube.com. I think it's at SWAC1920 is the handle on YouTube. You just search SWAC Digital Network. Great production. You, Coach Cador, Charles Bishop, you guys did a great job today. So, I'm enjoying it. So Rattler Nation will be tuned in, excited. 3:00 we play Alabama State. And, hey, man, have a good call on the games tomorrow.
Appreciate it. One quick comment. I got a chance to visit Tallahassee during basketball season for the first time. It was on my bucket list to go and see the campus of Florida A&M, and I really was impressed. The basketball arena is wonderful. Football stadium right next door. Got a chance to visit Tallahassee. I was really impressed with the campus. So Go Rattlers, continue the good work.
Nice. That big building that was to the left of the bronze won't be there anymore. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right. Hey, thanks, Charles. You have a good night. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment, guys. We got more to talk about right here on the ONG Strike Zone. We'll be back in 2.
I have in me the ability to make you a better you. So if you work hard, focus, stay on point, you can do anything. Trust me.
We made this track to tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Remember the revival? Relive the remix. Reunite for the Orange Blossom Classic. HBCU Reunion Experience. It's year 3, baby, and we back with that fire. Calling all HBCU fans. Labor Day weekend. The I Love Jackson State University takes on the venomous Florida A&M University. Tickets are on sale now. Watch the game in premium style seating or watch it from a luxury suite. And of course, you know the halftime show is going to be epic right here in the 305. The sonic boom of the South and the illustrious Marching 100. Who you rocking with? The 2023 Orange Blossom Classic. Don't miss the HBCU Reunion Experience. Labor Day weekend, Miami Gardens, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium. Trust me, we'll see you there. Oh. Check out OrangeBlossomClassic.com for tickets and info.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, welcome back. Yeah, welcome back. Hey, Marcus.
Quick update. I guess it's quasi-breaking news. We just got a commitment from a kicker, a transfer kicker, like about 10 minutes ago.
Is that the news we were waiting on there, Kelvin, when you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
All right, Marcus, what do we know? Tell us the 411. Who is he? What do we know about him?
Well, I've seen different numbers, but last numbers, he's a transfer from New Mexico State University. He's a native of New Mexico. He's anywhere from 5'11" to 6'1". I've seen different numbers, either 5'11", 190 or 6'1", 210. He's a kicker from Hope Christian High School. His name is Logan Fuller. And apparently he had a cup of tea at IMG Academy. I'm still looking at when he was there. So I've seen him assigned to both schools if they're facing the same player. But he played high school football at Hope Christian High School in Albuquerque, and his 24/7 sports profile assigns him to IMG Academy. So I have to flesh that out. And his team made it to the Class 3A in the New Mexico Athletic Association finals as a senior in 2021. He's a class of 2022, so it's 4 years of eligibility. And very interesting. I mean, basically, I'm assuming he grew up in New Mexico. I don't know when he went to Florida, if he just got smitten with Florida, but now they got snagged. And I have not run the numbers yet, but it seems like we've been offering kickers and long snappers like it's going out of business since December. Probably double digits on both, or at least double digits on kickers. I'm sorry, on long snappers, and probably high single digits on kickers, if that. And so it's kind of surprising considering we signed the gentleman who transferred from Stetson, an experienced kicker. We signed Michael Smith from Maclay High School as a high school signing, and I know that I think the gentleman that transferred from Temple signed him as a long snapper, and we already had an incumbent, I believe, Lawrence Martinez, I believe that's his name. But so I'm just curious. I mean, we're offering a lot of special teams players, so I don't know if that's an indication of something or if we're just upping the talent or trying to make sure we have a talent accumulation in depth or a combination of both strategies.
I hope it's the latter. Um, I just saw Trey Wilhoit mentioned by Craig Haley of Athlon Sports, number 4 for top 5 FCS. Was it place kickers?
Punters. Yeah,
Punters.
punter.
Okay, punters. So, I mean, we all know the importance and the success that we had with Chris Fadul and then Romo Martinez. We got to have good punters. You got to have good special teams, and that accounts for the field goal kickers. Hey, even the kickoff guys got to be able to do their job and be able to pin people within the right spot. I mean, so all of that is important. And, I appreciate Coach Chili Davis for being there and going out and trying to get the best.
And in fact, he made note of him because I think Coach Davis, I think one of his stops just before FAMU was out at, I won't say New Mexico Military Institute. I think that was his last stop. So he may know this young man from just being out there, maybe even try to recruit him just from being in a high school circuit. I think he spent 1 or 2 years out there.
Right.
But it's interesting. But, we have a history, going all the way back to Jimmy Vertuno and even before, with Vince Coleman of having good special teams. And we have good special teams. It seems like the whole team is doing well.
Yeah, I think because it sets up so many different aspects of your team, offensively and defensively. So attention to detail matters in this recruiting game. And so shout out to Coach Riz, Coach Davis, Coach Simmons for recognizing that and continue to add depth. I mean, that's real important. Before we keep going here, I got to give a few more shout outs because I see some more people that had jumped in. We see Dr. Lori jumped in. Good to see you in the stream, Doc. Edwin Moore jumped in. Excuse me. I think we got an update on that Grambling Jackson State game. Grambling now leading 8-6. AD had jumped in, telling us Grambling with an RBI double. So now Grambling's up 8-6. I think that's the latest info. Marcus is in the building. Kylan Chavis also is in the build in the chat. More people out there I might be missing. Hello to everybody. Hit that thumbs up button if you would. We appreciate you. 8-6 is the score going into the top of the ninth. So any more follow-up thoughts regarding baseball's game against Alabama State? What was the series? We played 6 games with them, Kelvin. What were we, 2-4 against them? Am I correct in that number? We didn't get swept.
No, we won one in last week in Tallahassee, and then when we went to Alabama State, I think we got swept.
Oh, okay, we got swept up there. Okay.
So 5-6.
Better showing last weekend, I think, than the previous run, if I'm not mistaken. All right, well, I think it's all going. Hey, we talked about it, so that's a 3:00 game. We just had to sit back and see what comes from it, but it'll be a big win for us because it puts us in a position where whoever we face would have played 1 or 2 more games than us in that next match on Friday. And
we have our ace sitting out there rested if need be. So if we can find a way to pull out the game tomorrow, it really sets us up and our pitching up, particularly for success.
Yeah.
That's my concern. I'm just wondering who we're going to roll out there against Bama State 3:00 tomorrow. I'm sorry. Tomorrow, Thursday.
Our number 2 pitcher, the same guy who pitched against him last week, and he did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Hey, if the bats can get going, and that thing is going to come down to don't leave runners on base. I mean, I think that's what is going to be huge. But we'll look forward to seeing those guys. Hopefully, Rattler Nation can get out there to check that game out. All right, Kelvin, you had an update on track and field, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because we had a couple of track and field athletes.
We have one guy in a long jump who participating today. We have 2 athletes, 1 female, 1 male. They both are doing 2 events in the NCAA East regionals. And right now, unfortunately, Parshay Caldwell, they've completed 4 flights at the long jump, and he's in 30th place with his best jump is a 23.9.5. Only the top 12 advance. So right now, the number 12 person has a 24.7. So he would have to have I can't remember if they have 5 or 6 flights, but with his last jump, he would have to have a significant increase to get to that top 12.
No, they've already posted a story on the website on FAMU Athletics saying that he won't make it to the next round in that event. But the high jump is still in play for him, and I guess that's what he'll have a shot at this upcoming week. And then our female athlete that we have, Talita Williams, correct?
Correct. She'll be competing in the 200 and 400, I believe. Yes, 200 and 400 meter dashes.
Yeah, and I think she was the SWAC champion in both of those events. I think in the 400, I know in the 400 she was the SWAC champ. My notes are taking a little bit longer to load, so I can't really see whether she did that in the 200.
She finished. Okay, her times in the UNFL East Coast relays is what qualified her for the regional, though, not the SWAC championships.
All right. What else we got on the plate there?
We didn't finish baseball. We didn't talk about the all SWAC team. The all SWAC selections for baseball.
Oh.
I want to get you mad.
All right. Go ahead. Yeah, don't get me mad. Go ahead. I'll let you jump in with that.
Well, we had 5 all SWAC selections. As you mentioned earlier, only 1 was first team. And then we had 4 that was second team. Ty Hanchy, of course, was the first team person. And then we had the Sebastian Greco, Ty Jackson, Hunter Veeks, and Jamichael Bastado, today's hero, who were all SWAC second team. Now, this team, we led the SWAC when it comes to home run, hits, doubles. We were in the top 2, 3 in almost all those categories, and we still pad those numbers. So you would have thought maybe 1 or 2 of those guys. Hunter Vetts probably should have been first team. Sebastian might have had a case for the first team because I think he was tied for first in home runs in the SWAC. But those are our selections for all SWAC baseball.
And again, as I stated with Charles, I have no earthly idea how or why, how or why, Ty Jackson is not the SWAC hitter of the year. You go look at the production in conference games, and we are in the East Division. The East Division, which is supposed to be the stronger pitching division. I think people were impressed about the fact that, here's what's funny. Adderley's, the Texas Southern young man who batted .424, has like the second or third best batting average in the nation. And all I'll say is, you can go look at who Texas Southern has played in the non-conference. I mean, they haven't even played good NAIA Division II teams. I mean, really, the strength of schedule in the non-conference for Texas Southern is pretty poor compared to what FAMU has played in the non-conference. So if I'm just so the 424 average by Adderley, Ty Jackson's was 394. Okay. And then you go to the conference. Ty Jackson shoots up to 494. You basically, so what I'm saying to SWAC Nation, SWAC voters, coaches, SIDs, you've devalued your own conference. You have basically told America and the nation that our conference is weaker because the guy who his average shot up by nearly 100 points playing a good non-conference is second team, while the guy who was first team, and because he hit 424 against Sisters of the Poor and Mary School of the Blind, his average is better, and then it drops when he got in the conference in the weaker of the two divisions. I just want that to be on the record, and I challenge any coach, any SID, whoever this SWAC cabal is that votes for these hitters of the years, players of the year. If you all voted for Adderley over Ty Jackson, I want to know what you were looking at. And everyone should be asking, what are you looking at? And I get, Coach Shoup's not going to do all that. That's why there's media entities like us. And I challenge Gerald Thomas, Tallahassee Democrat, ask Gerald, ask the question. Fangs Up, Keith, ask the questions. HBCU Game Day, ask the question. Somebody ask the SWAC media voters, not the SWAC media voters. We know it's not the SWAC media. The SWAC coaches and SIDs ask the question. How is your best hitter, Ty Jackson, not your hitter of the year? Period. I'm done.
That's it.
That's it. Let's take a break because I got to run to the bathroom. Let's take a break and TMI. Yeah, TMI. I'm sorry. Real quick. We'll go to a quick break, and hopefully I can be back before the commercials end, and we can run right into some more stuff, the Sports Hall of Fame and some other stuff we got going on. How about that, fellas? That's good?
Sounds like a plan.
That's good.
All right. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit. Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, We can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
All right, welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Brian, Kelvin, Marcus here. Want to remind you guys, or thank you guys, first off, for hitting the thumbs up button. And if you haven't done so already, please, won't you hit that thumbs up button, or hit the like button wherever you're watching the show. And it'd be great if you would subscribe to our YouTube page, our Facebook pages, social media platforms, any and everything. You watch the show, hit the bell, whatever it is that keeps you reminded, and then share the show with a friend. Any and all shares will be greatly appreciated. And of course, you can always make donations to the show via the little scroll there. Different little ways that you can do that as well. I think the final score, Grambling ended up winning 8-7. So the 2-1 seeds versus the 2-3 seeds. That's what we got, right? That's what we got. And so, we advance into the second round. Good job. Hey, did you guys catch any of the Orange Blossom Classic press conference yesterday?
Yeah, I watched it. No breaking news.
No breaking news, but it was good. We are 102 days away from the kickoff of the Orange Blossom Classic season opener against Jackson State. I thought the most interesting question I heard. Well, look, we already know FAMU right now is tentatively not scheduled to be a part of the game in 2024. But somebody asked about Howard being in the game. I think Howard Bison. It was kind of funny. Coach Simmons kind of joked about it would be a Howard Bison asking a non-football related question. I thought that was funny as hell. But I think I couldn't tell who the reporter was, but mentioned wanting, would Howard, the possibility of Howard being in the game. But I think on the heels of, we had a great conversation last week with Kendra Bullock of the OBC, the executive director. And, that's a big question that, their charge is to help HBCUs, but HBCUs in Florida specifically. And I said it yesterday or last week, but I'd be interested, that future, even if it's just a one-off year where, you had a Bethune versus Howard. I'm just going to throw it out there because that's kind of what was talked about, right? I think that would be a huge game for the Orange Blossom Classic. I think Howard folk would travel to Miami Gardens. That's, and South Beach. I mean, Howard folk would travel to that, and I think
let me, Brian, but don't go too far out on that branch now.
Okay, let me stop.
Howard people don't even travel to Howard, the DC.
Howard, they travel for homecoming though. They travel for homecoming. They travel for homecoming.
They come on a yard. They don't go in the game.
Come on, don't do that to Howard folk. Anyway,
it's just Morehouse. When they play Morehouse, that's when they really travel. But outside of that, they're not a travel base. But you're right. The game still could work with them as a participant in it. But there's probably better candidates than them.
Yeah, and Jackson State appears to be signed in for the 2025 season, which opens it up for an opportunity for somebody to play them.
Yes, because I'm looking at our from FBSschedules.com. I mean, for 2025, we can play 4 out of conference games, but if everything stays true, we're pretty much spoken for on that weekend because we're at South Carolina State. The 2-year deal we signed for 2024 and 2025 is we host 24. They go to their place in 2025 on Labor Day weekend, and we play South Alabama on the week 0 game, so that'd be against FBS opponent. And right now we're scheduled to play the Gators on October 11th. So we do have room for one more non-conference game.
What Gators?
Considering, I'm sorry.
What the who?
The Gators, University of Florida.
Oh Lord have mercy.
So we have, according to FBS, of course, this is 2 years out, but I doubt if we're breaking a contract with Florida because that's big money.
Oh,
that we'd have to pay. Unless ESPN comes in and says, "Hey, we got a better game. We want to match up with something else that's more lucrative." And
how much did Florida play us last time we went there?
That was like 20 years ago. That was like in 2003.
Was it 20 years ago when we went to Florida?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
I
want to say it was.
Man,
I think it was just the season before we went FBS. So it was I think our transition season when we announced that summer. I think
it was in the last 15 years. I thought it was in the last 10 or 15 years we went to Florida.
I don't think so. I'll double check, but I thought it was like 2003.
Wow.
And of course, the price, yesterday's price isn't the same price, so I don't know how much.
Sure.
But we're pretty much spoken for 2025 if this remains the same based on announced games. We announced South Alabama a couple years ago. That could always change. Florida, that could change, and we just announced the South Carolina home and home for 2024 and 2025. So we have one out-of-conference game left, but our South Carolina State game is Labor Day weekend.
Nothing says Labor Day weekend fun like going to Orangeburg, South Carolina. All right. Any other? I'm just gonna leave that out there.
Yeah.
Takeaways. Any other takeaways though? TC Taylor was there in attendance. Coach Simmons was. Any takeaways from the presser? Anybody gleam anything or see anything worth a note?
No, everything was pretty professional. It wasn't much no bulletin board material. No, it wasn't really no smack talk. Coach Simmons acknowledged that we fell short the last couple of times in trying to right the ship. We said all the right things, and we'll hopefully execute and find a way to break this snide because we've lost to Jackson State now 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Is it 4? Okay, see, I thought it was
4.
I know it's
other than last year, all 3 of them were close. We lost the Hail Mary game. I think that was Earl Holmes. That was in Jackson. Then we lost the one in Tallahassee. I want to say, was that 2019?
19.
Yeah, and that was the one where I don't know if Xavier Smith stepped out of bounds.
That was Riley. That's when Stanley didn't down the ball. Right.
Yeah.
And the clock ran out.
I I don't know if it was either Xavier or Chad was racing down the sideline. The ref said he stepped out like around the 2 because he caught a swing pat, and I was like, that looked a little shaky. But that was, wasn't home cooking that time. And then the 7-6 game for the OBC in 2021 and last year, we'll just kind of like leave that where it is. But the 3 out of the 4 were like last play of the game or close type things. But yes, it's been a 4-game losing streak.
All right. Got to give a shout out to Terrence Davis. I don't know if he's still in there, but Terrence Davis, number 83 on the national championship team from 78, also a member of the FAMU track team, jumped in, joined us a little bit earlier at the beginning, back in the first hour. Hopefully he's still in the chat room. So if you guys see Terrence in there, this is a big year where I think, help me with the math here, fellas, because I think not only do we get to honor the 98 squad, but we're also get to honor the 78 squad as well, correct? If I'm doing the math, and it's like the 45th and
25th.
45th for 78, 25th for 98. I think that's where I was going. Yeah.
Yes. And keeping with that football theme, we saw on social media a graphic that shows that in his first 4 years, Coach Simmons has tied Coach Billy Joe, with 33 victories in his first 4 years at the helm as the head rattler. So congratulations to him on that.
For sure. Yeah, definitely after a pair of 9-win, actually three consecutive 9-win seasons, and then 6-5 in his first season. Got a Black College National title under his belt, still chasing that conference title though. And look, hey, it was funny listening to the Coach Joe interview with
Vaughn.
With Vaughn. The last few years for Coach Joe, whoa, were they tough? Juxtapose that with the first 4 years or the last 4 years for Coach Simmons, tough in a different kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Where you had to deal with a pandemic, losing a season, the controversy of the past year, So I mean, look, and 2 men who persevered, through it. And what I loved about the Coach Joe interview was hearing Coach Joe talk about he always wanted this job at Florida A&M and wanted it, maybe 20 years, 15 years before he actually got the job.
Back in the 70s, yes.
And being told that he wasn't ready. And so he was like, okay, I'm not ready. I'll just have to go win and be successful in all these other places. And eventually prove myself. I forgot who he said the AD was that told him that.
Oh no, that was
no, it was Coach Gaither.
That was Coach Gaither who told him that?
Yeah, in the 70s.
Yeah.
He said you've been coaching 1 year.
72.
Yeah, he said, yeah, you're not ready for that.
Hey, well, what are you gonna say to that? Coach Gaither tell you ain't ready. Okay. Okay, Coach. I'm gonna have to go out here and win some titles then, and so I applaud Coach Joe for doing that. And then, he just, wins titles at Central State, and then he comes to FAMU, and he had to. It's just a great storytelling, and I still say there's some things unsaid or untold regarding that whole disaster, that fiasco of what happened and trying to go Division I. That's a documentary that somebody's got to do and do it justice. I want interviews. I want names. If they no longer around, then Put a picture of him up on the screen and let's find out. So I want to know the whole story. You know?
Yeah.
You don't know. Come on, you don't want to know the whole story. You got it.
So
anybody. Go ahead, Kelvin. Kelvin know the story. He's trying to be.
No. Yeah. No, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I know the story. I've heard it from the horse's mouth, and I've I was actually around enough to see some of that in firsthand, so I know the story. But Coach Joe also didn't bring up. Not. I was just gonna add real quick, Brian. Coach Joe didn't even bring up. A lot of people don't remember. APR started around that time. It didn't exist when he first got here, so he also had some issues not related to him personally, but some APR things that popped up because we didn't have a staff. We had a one-man staff back then too. I think Jonathan Evans was the one-man staff, and he was the administrator for facilities, for compliance, all this stuff. And so he was Coach Joe had to battle toward the end of his tenure.
Yeah, I'm sure there were a lot of well-intentioned people in places doing things that they probably had good intentions, but I'm sorry. It's part of the ugly truth in history that needs to be known, because I'm one of those people that say, in order to prevent things from happening again, you have to fully know your history. And so I think for any administrator any administrator and coach needs to know what happened, how it happened, why it was allowed to happen, so that we can prevent it from happening again. Because if you don't learn from the mistakes, because that mistake set this program back for about 15 years.
Yes.
Clearly. It set the program back.
It did. That's facts. That's facts.
Yeah. 15
we cut
years.
Sports. We're digging out of a hole. The bigger lesson might be watch who you're listening to instead of. I mean, you can go specific around athletics, but
let me say this: don't overstate that particular situation and apply that to all the 15 years, though, because the issue after it hurt us that season and the season following. But both at the AD level and president level, Coach Joe dealt with us going from the Board of Regents, Florida Board of Regents, to a Board of Trustees also. With it's just things that around that he probably with that crew, but the reason why he moved, Billy Joe talked about it. It wasn't that he wasn't in support of it. It was just in having the infrastructure and resources in place. He's in favor of it right now. And he's in favor of the SWAC model, where the conference moves up as a whole to be FBS conference. So it wasn't that he wasn't against it, but rightfully so, we weren't prepared for it. But we compounded that issue, by having constant turnover on our board and our leadership for 10 years. So that equally set our football program back.
Right. So you had not only the political angle, as well as just the sports angle to it, that sort of is interesting to kind of hear about, right? All right, let's let's kind of move over to
one more football.
Go ahead. What you got?
Let's do one more football. Let me just get this one in.
Oh, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you see the Avalon Sports FCS? Okay, so Avalon Sports FCS Top 25 came out. The only HBCU in the top 25 preseason is North Carolina Central, and they're at 4. And then they have team watch. And FAMU is in the 5 teams to watch. So say 27 is where we at right now in preseason, according to Avalon Sports.
Hey, look, I'm not going to waste my energy this particular season checking that poll. I'm just going to say it right out. I'm not going to check. I'm not going to waste my energy looking at that poll. And here's why. Because A, we're not competing for a playoff berth this year. We understand that there's going to be negative feedback already about the fact that we play 2 Division II teams. Okay. Even if we do happen to beat a Division I team in South Florida, let's just say that happens. There's still going to be the negative talk about us playing Division II teams. Okay. And so that poll, A, is going to look down upon us no matter what we do. I mean, we can go 11-1. That poll will somehow maybe put us in at number 15. So I'm just not going to waste time looking over there at what Athlon and whomever else that does all of FCS. I mean, shout out to those who do and those who include North Carolina Central, those who include Florida A&M, because I mean, at least it says, you acknowledging us, but I'm not. I'd rather be surprised. I'm just expecting you not to acknowledge us. So if you do, I'll be surprised. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not surprised we're not in the top 25. I actually thought Jackson State was going to be in the top 25. I'm glad for North Carolina Central that they are. I actually thought North Carolina Central would be higher than 24, but I think that's where they automatically start. Show me go back and look through all the preseason polls for the last 5-10 years and tell me if you've seen an HBCU preseason ranked higher than 20.
Well, I think last year was Jackson State, but that was coming off of 2021.
Yes, that was.
I can't remember their preseason, outlier. But I think they were
19.
Yeah.
In one poll, they were 19.
Yeah. So, I would rather look at the various, black college football polls, and at least, we can debate amongst ourselves and compare and contrast the value of wins and so on and so forth than the other stuff. So yeah, I will say while you brought up polls, did you see the best quarterbacks in 2000 that's been in around? Have you caught that? You guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't know if I saw the best quarterback. Yeah, you mean yeah, I know. Yeah, I saw it.
Well, give us the details.
I don't know. My signal a little choppy here. I don't know if that's me or you guys. Let's take a quick break. Let me see if we can reset our connections a little bit here with a short 2-minute break. Come back for the final segment. Please coming up. And, so for those of you sneakerheads, we'll talk a little bit about that and give it even the Rattlers to the sports Emmys. So talk about that as well on the other side. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone. We'll be back in.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses. The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate. The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We all
All right. Are you still there?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We're not going to worry about them. No, whatever the things aren't working.
Say that again.
Brian, I think you're lagging.
I don't know. There's
All right. You on mute,
Now
Brian?
you're doing a silent films thing now.
You lip syncing? Hey, you might say you're on mute. It ain't picking up you. Pick like.
Kelvin, can you hear me?
Yeah, we good.
Okay. We'll let Brian jump in. I don't know if I can share my thing. Let me see. We can do it really super quick.
You got some recruiting stuff?
Man, I've been trying to update. These coaches are on it. I've been trying to update my spreadsheet, and it's like I can't even update it fast enough. So I know we since late April, early May, I'm guessing we've offered at least 50 players across 2024, 2025, and 2026. So I'm trying to at least get the names and the offer date, and I got it.
Go ahead. I was just wondering if we was live or not.
Yep. I think we're still recording, so we're still in there. I was going to share. I have a little graphic on some of the transfers, not the ones coming in, but the ones that are leaving for men's basketball and softball. So we can try to present that. Now, this is Brian's usually the presenter, so I'm trying to. This will be new territory. Let me see. Oh, okay.
all right, fellas. I think I'm back.
Yep, we hear you.
I don't know.
Oh, and we were still live. You had us live, man.
I told you we're still live. I told you we're still live. Yeah. Remember, the mics are always hot. So, yeah. So, I don't know. All right, Marcus, you've got control of it. You uploaded your document. Correct?
Looks like it's still spinning.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Hey, wow. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this will be real quick. But it's something I saw. Like we talked about it last year, where we had a lot of seniors leaving because we had MJ Randolph and a lot of folks who were seniors for the 2021-22 season. And we brought in a lot of players, and we, asked Coach McCullough about the mesh with so many new players coming in. Well, this year, some of those same players are bouncing. So I guess my question is, how are we gonna? Now we went over last week how some of the new players coming in, but here's who's leaving. So we have Jalen Bates, he was one of my favorite players, and I think one that Coach McCullough spoke very highly of in terms of the athleticism. He's gone, and actually just saw he committed to Youngstown State. Saeed Burnside, who's a big man, I think he came in class of 2021-22, came in from a school down in, I want to say, like a prep school down in Central Florida. He and Caleb Muller both come from the same school. And I think they're both gone now. He's transferred to Connor State. Jalen Hewitt, who is a D2 transfer, announced, all this is per verbal commits. So he's announced his transfer to be determined, but he's entered the portal. as has Byron Smith and Jordan Tillman, who, along with Jalen Bates, are probably the three crowning jewels of last year's recruiting class. So I think Byron Smith is from TCC, and Jordan Tillman, I forgot which JUCO, but I seem to remember he was from in the Mississippi area. I want to say Alcorn, either went to high school in Alcorn, but played somewhere else in JUCO. So both of them announced their transfers in Pine Bluff.
Arkansas.
I'm sorry.
Pine Bluff?
You're right. I'm sorry, not Alcorn, Pine Bluff. And both those three guys, the three who are the crown jewel coming in last year for recruiting class, are now in the portal, have already gone to a new school. And then Peyton Williams was another JUCO transfer announced. So that's 6 players we're losing off the roster who the majority of them had 1 year, with Saeed Burnside coming straight out of high school and having 2, but I don't think played a whole lot. So I'm not sure to what degree, what the reasons were for that. So
how's that going to affect APR?
Well, it depends on their progress. We still don't get the 1 point for retention, but hopefully their academics would get the point for doing well and leaving in good standing and progressing towards a degree.
So 3 of them were starters, by the way. Bates, Byron Smith was a part-time starter, and Jordan Tillman. Well, so 2 of them already have found homes at NCAA institutions, so that means they left in good standing. So right now, I think I'm projecting we only lose 1 retention point with them. Hopefully, they'll get their degrees and we can get that point back at some point. Byron Smith has not found a new home yet, so we'll take a 2-point hit unless he finds a new home and is in good standing also. The other ones didn't play. I know a couple of them were on scholarships at one time, but those TBDs, they will hurt. They will hurt if they don't change, and we don't track that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we talked about the players we're bringing in last week, where we actually had 2 big men that were 6'10" or 6'9", 6'10". So he's kind of transforming and turning over the roster a teeny bit. Still, guard heavy, but bringing in a little bit more beef. But if you can't keep them, I don't know if all that matters. So just hopefully we get improved in terms of retention, and whether it's on the player side, the coach's side, or a mutual agreement to part ways. I don't know, but that's something that. And granted that the basketball team's APR, 1-year APR, I think was the same as the football this year. The report that came out a couple of weeks ago, 898. So we're well below the threshold for a single year. I don't know what their 4-year rolling average happened to be. And switching over, I thought there were 3, but I found 2, softball transfers. Now, Miss Zenteno is a senior. She was a class of 2019 signee, and she's listed under the press release from FAMU Athletics as it relates to the student athletes who are graduating. Now, Miss Beasley, Christina Beasley, I don't believe so. She came from, I believe, Santa Fe Community College, transferred in 2021. And so I want to say she came in the same time as a friend of the program, and it came from TCC, Janai Davis. So she might have been in that same class, but she wasn't listed either in the fall 22 or spring 2023 student athletes. So once again, we're looking at it. Actually, Ms. Zenteno did complete her degree, so I'm assuming that she has an extra year of eligibility or either a red shirt. We might even have 2 if, the COVID year and if there's a red shirt year. But so, she's graduating.
Yeah, the ones who graduate and transfer, they don't hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, Beasley is the young lady who left the program sometime in April.
During the season, yes.
Yeah, during the season, second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows how that affects.
And for some reason, I thought there was a third person. I don't know. Only 2, because there's another Twitter account that says softball something, D1 softball, that listed the transfers. So That's where I got this information, and for some reason I thought there was another person, but I'm not sure. But we had 5 or 6 seniors, and so you look at
There were
Janiyah
10.
Davis,
There were
you look at
10 seniors on that senior night thing. I don't know how many have eligibility left, but there were 10 seniors.
yes. Well, I was looking at the list, and I pulled up the list of once again the press release, and just looking at the spring press release, we had Mia Blazingame, Destiny Cuevas, Janiyah Davis, Janaea Mobley, Nia Morgan, and Nadia Zenteno announced for spring 2023 graduates. And we don't know who, if any of those 6 young ladies still have eligibility. Well, we know at least one is in the portal, and that's Ms. Zenteno. She was a pitcher. So we have 2 pitchers that are leaving, and arguably our 2 top pitchers.
So Zenteno is in the portal, is what you're saying?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
They both announced according to this softball, D1 softball Twitter account. I don't know if I saw anything official. I didn't go check cross-reference with their accounts, but so we're looking at that, and at the very least, we don't know who happens to be coming back and using a COVID year. And then when we talked with Miss Morgan, she kind of hinted at it, but that was back in February before the season started. So, I don't know if she's.
Yeah, we'll have to reach out to Naya and even Janiyah just to kind of gauge where they are, and then we may have to say I've sent an email to Coach P on another related issue or another related thing, to kind of feel out, but maybe Kelvin, that we could just kind of just reach out and just kind of, hey, Coach P, give us an update on what your numbers are like, off the record, who's coming back, who's locked in, so on and so forth. J-Mac. I hope that's not true. Anyway. All right, what else you got there, Marcus?
That's it for this. I didn't get to the other sports to compile the other transfers, but we do know there's a couple of football, but we talked about them.
Do either of you have the press release up for the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying I don't. My
Oh.
Yeah, I'm dealing with so many computer issues right now. I'm scared to open another window. I'm like, if I open another window, the whole damn thing will shut down and then be over. So I don't know what's happening here on my end. Okay. So Corinthian chimes in. Let's see who. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Who has 1 year left? Hold on. We're getting some info on the.
Hopefully, he's talking about his daughter.
I hope so too. I hope she's got a year left.
Yeah, she mentioned that in the previous interview. Just hopefully she's using that year in Tallahassee.
Yeah. Hopefully so. It'd be good to have a veteran catcher to come back. Hopefully we get another catcher or 2 more catchers, and then kind of saved Naya a little bit, and maybe give her an opportunity to play some on third. Okay, so
Marcus, we signed about 6 young ladies at this point, right?
We did 6 freshmen. I do not know if we've signed any junior college transfers. I haven't seen anything in that regard, but all the 6 players that I've seen, and we talked about either last week or previous weeks, were high school recruits.
All right. So apparently Christiana Beasley plans to graduate from FAMU in the summer. So that's her plan. So, again, and then, like I said, she left mid-season. Don't know how that affects anything from there. And so that's a quick little update regarding softball. And, hey, camps. Everybody, speaking of softball, I'm starting to see camps. Janiyah Mobley. Janiyah has no more eligibility left. So she's done. She's done with her eligibility. Shoes. Shoes. Let's go to the shoes.
It's got to be the shoes, money.
It's got to be the shoes. Now,
that's right.
The name of the organization or the name of the store, correct me, is ABP?
APB.
All Points Bulletin.
All Points Bulletin. I'm not familiar. I'm not a sneakerhead, so I feel I am in the dark here. So,
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see Mr. Morgan said Morgan will be back.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about, Nia Morgan, softball. We know. Hey, good news there. She just got accepted in grad school. All right. Congratulations to pass along congratulations, if you would, Corinthian.
Congratulations.
Good to hear. So she will be back. That's good. That's good. Okay, so tell All Points Bulletin, the name of the store, the campaign. One of you guys tell. I'm clueless about this. So one of you guys talk about this.
I've never heard of them, but it seems like when I read their press release, they have stores in around Tallahassee in the Florida area. And I see that HBCU Game Day did a story on how you can get them. They're being released on June 2nd. Well, that's a supplement to the FAMU official press release.
Now, these are the shoes that I've seen people wearing. Like, I've seen people around FAMU wearing these shoes. Coach Simmons, I think I've seen the AD wearing them. I've seen Josh Padilla wearing them.
Well, see, there's a difference.
There
are
is?
people
Okay.
people in athletics are being wearing them, but now this is
Okay,
for public
gotcha.
release.
Okay. So these are the same type of shoes that are available.
A public limited release.
All right. I need to get I got some kids who know have bots. They got bots. I need to go get my kids on this and be like, hey, coach. Did I just say that out loud? Did I say that out loud?
Looking at their Twitter account, they say located in Columbia, presumably South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, Greenville, Jacksonville, Florida, and Tallahassee. And it says your local APB boutique for a chance to be featured. So very few stores, if those are their only brick and mortar stores, and they do have an online store.
Okay.
Now, I don't know, Brian, if there's a way for you to play. I mean, they have a lot of clips, but I don't know if there's a way to play the full 2-minute feature.
Probably not with any audio, just because
okay.
Yeah, YouTube won't like it, and so we could get away with it on Instagram and Twitter. So I know I've seen it. It's a very cool campaign. I think I even have retweeted it on Twitter, and I think I've reshared it on Instagram. But it is a really cool a 2-minute or a minute and a half feature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's very Florida and very FAMU. You see a lot of landmarks. I didn't recognize some of the people that might be a lot younger than I am, other than the basketball players. And unfortunately, I think 2 of the players that are featured are 2 of the ones that transferred. But the young lady who was featured, she's going one-on-one. I think that was Byron Smith. She's hopefully still at FAMU. I think she's a class of 2021 or 2022. I think she's class of 21.
Yeah. Shoes are apparently going to cost $200, which
all of
that's
them.
All
LeBron.
of them cost $200. They're LeBron.
Yeah,
if it's got LeBron, it's $200 minimum.
Yeah,
The question
LeBron
is-
20s.
The question is, if I buy them for $200, what can I turn around and sell them for? Not that I would condone that, but there are people who do that. And the Dunk Low, for example, people bought the Dunk Lows, and then I had people ask me, hey, coach, here's the Dunk Lows. You want to? And then he showed me the price. I say, how much are they? $600. I'm like, whoa! I don't remember them being $600 at the time of the sale. And the kids, I get I stay up to date on these things from the kids at school. So the kids at school tell me they're like, coach, you if you don't get them on the day of, then you got to buy them on the secondary
aftermarket.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I tried one time to do something like that where I bought something and then try to do it on the aftermarket and it never sold. And I said, I'm not doing this ever again. Because then I ended up with just a bunch of stuff and lost money. So I was like, never again. But anyway, somebody's gonna pay $200 for those shoes.
Mm-hmm. And it's the marketing. It's the marketing.
Yeah.
Now, I guess the one other thing, and when it got announced, I think it was the day before the last Lakers game. I didn't know if LeBron was gonna stretch it out long enough to wear the shoes on the court. But and I didn't watch any of the series, so I don't know if he even got a chance to wear them out on any of the playoff games.
I know he wore some FAMU shoes in a game, but I don't know if it was these though or not.
Yeah, he didn't break the record in LeBron's, did he? I think he was like a game or
There
two
was
before.
something he did. I don't know if it was the lime green ones or if it was these, the ones that APB is selling.
I'm still looking for the green mid-top. Those are the ones that I think are the freshest one. The green mids, not the black ones, not the black version. I think it's the green. The greens are the ones that I think are the dopest shoe. I mean, other than this sort of I guess it's orange, but it looks more like a peach color shoe.
Popsicle. I call it a cream popsicle.
Yeah, whatever. This how I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out when we're going to create an athletic apparel store. Do I need to go down this? I'm about to start. I don't want to go down a path that I'm just never going to come back from. But I'm just going to leave it at there. I'm waiting on the athletic apparel store. These LeBrons are great. I love that they're advertising them on the athletic website. I'd rather the athletic, instead of sending me to Dick's where I can't find anything, I'd like to get, this great athletic apparel that we see our coaches and our players wear. That stuff should be sold during the summer. I mean, how many FAMU softball shirts do you see being sold out on the open marketplace?
Well, I could say one thing I saw with this guy, Matt Brown, who does a lot of college sports stuff. He had an article that talked about why some of the college teams don't have authentic jerseys. And it's because of the expense of doing that in terms of the dyes and everything else. So I can understand, unless you have the companies want to invest in.
There are companies doing NIL, like who is it? Fanatics. Fanatics is doing.
Yes, now they did that. This article was around the same time.
But their products are available both on their site as well as a lot of it is available in retail and other sites. So they don't fall into that audience. The other thing I'll just say, Brian, other than the business side of it, is that some of those jerseys with the teams and shoes are exclusive, meaning when they are designed and when the contract is signed, it is not for public purchase. They make a different version for the public. So some of that is contractual, is all I'm saying.
I think that's one of the worst contract signings that I see out there. And I say that because if you're going to have 3 different jerseys, let's just say Coach Simmons has 3 different polos, make one of the 3 available for retail sales. I mean, I just think we missed the boat, and just all we got to do is look out in the marketplace. Again, we're one of the few universities, a small university. When I say small, I mean small in terms of actual students, but not small in terms of reach. So if you hear me say something to the effect of Oklahoma fans can get Oklahoma gear that their head coach wears, that their baseball coach wears, we have the same kind of reach that I think, could be taken advantage.
We don't have the same kind of reach, but we do have a better reach than most schools our size.
Yes, scaled. We have a reach. Yeah.
But before you go too far on a limb, Brian, we'll have a show coming up soon with someone who can talk about licensing and branding specific. Is on a docket, and we can get let's educate ourselves a little more on what is and what ain't before we go too far.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I love that. I will write all my questions down about why I can't find this, why I can't find that. I just, I want to spit. I heard this is crazy. I just heard a clip, and I think this is Anthony Lawrence who kind of tweeted this out or posted this. I just saw this clip where there was a Southern guy wearing probably one of his shirts, and he had stopped at one of his pop-ups, or it looked like he was at a tent, and he was commenting on some of the new gear. And he was like, "Man, y'all got some new Southern gear?" He's like, I got Southern gear I haven't even had a chance to open yet from Anthony Lawrence. And I was just sitting there thinking, damn, I'd like to be able to do that. I'd like to have some Nike gear that I hadn't even had a chance to open from FAMU, but I can't even find it. So yeah.
It's out there, Brian.
Is it? Okay. You show me.
I mean, you might not be able to wear the stuff that Coach Simmons is wearing. I still like that Venom mascot shirt, but it looks like it's exclusive to the athletic teams, and they have it with the different balls and different equipment they use for the team. So I like those. So I understand what you're saying about that. But in terms of like, if we're looking at Anthony Lawrence, Legacy History Pride, Tones of Melanin, and they've got stuff, but it's not like authentic, like jerseys. And I see Kenya's point about the LeBron jerseys, and we talked about this about a year or so ago when they dropped. We said that, and we had the same discussion, is that in theory, or maybe not even theory, the LeBron jersey sales could have been a beta test from Nike to see, okay, how much will the FAMU people, or how many people will go out and buy this as a beta test for whatever's next with the FAMU Nike brand or collaboration. So we don't know the numbers on the sale of the jerseys. I mean, we see them on social media, but we don't have any actual hardcore numbers in terms of the sales of the jerseys for the different colors, the orange, the green, and the white, and what that means and what Nike's threshold is based on that number as to what makes sense, business sense, in order to create other jerseys in other sports, because the market is there. We don't know what that threshold number happens to be. And we don't know how many jerseys were sold or purchased. And they're still out there for sale. I think some of them were on sale for like, I think the green one, I didn't snag one yet, but I think it was on sale for like half price.
Yeah.
So it was like $40 or something like that.
At this point in time, I would just buy one just to kind of have as background deco for, my clean wall behind me, or even, just, at school, you know what I'm saying? On the wall.
You mean to tell me y'all guys don't have all three already?
No.
I can't. Well, they didn't come in 3Xs, so yeah. Anyway, if I was buying wall art at $69 a pop, then yeah, I would have already bought all three. But I wasn't buying wall art for $69 each, or however much them jerseys cost. All right. Anyway, any do you guys have? Hold on. Let me see if, now that my phone is working, maybe I can pull up the list of we can close the show by just making mention of the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame, which, if you got a chance to watch the 220 Club today, you would have seen Marvin Green, who I believe is the director, or I don't know the official title, but I know he and Alvin Hollins work with that with the Sports Hall of Fame committee. But it'd be good to kind of hear from him. I'm sitting here trying to pull this up here, so bear with me here as I'm trying to access his names. Here he is. FAMU Sports Hall of Fame, class of 23, ceremony to be dedicated to the legendary Ken Riley, who, of course, was recently elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It will be the 47th enshrinement, the weekend of Friday, September 22nd through Saturday, September 23rd on campus. Who do we play that weekend, football-wise?
What weekend is that again?
What were the dates?
22nd and 23rd, Friday and Saturday.
Oh, I know the 16th we play. I think we play University of West Florida.
South Carolina State, right?
Not this year.
Yes.
It might be a SWAC game. I thought.
Yeah. No, I think it's South Carolina State. We have 2 home games back to back.
Okay, yeah. I mean, because I imagine they would have this during one of the home game weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why. Okay, so you think it's the South Carolina State home game weekend, 22nd and 23rd. Okay, 23rd being a Saturday. Also being recognized by the Sports Hall of Fame will be the 1978 National Championship football team on the
Alabama State. We're playing Alabama
So
State that weekend.
So it's Alabama State is the home game. All right, and I know it's a home game. Okay.
Okay. All right. So it's the 45th anniversary of the 78 team. The 2023 class consists, the female athletes to be honored include star point guard Brenda Fogel of the 80s women's basketball team, 6'6" center Teresa Jenkins, who led the nation in block shots in 1999, and 2-time track and field All-American Nakia Linson, as well as softball pitcher Kenya Perea. I hope I said her name right, a 3-time MEAC tournament MVP. The male athletes include the record-setting QB of the 98 team, Patrick Bonner.
Mad
Bomber finally getting in. You know, I did an interview with him about a year ago, and he was wondering if he would make it in, given the fact that he was only there a year. And I mean,
and he didn't start that year, right? He didn't become the starter until the 3rd game, I want to say.
The Jackson State game, I think, according to, and it was like what, 45-7.
Yes, yeah. Also, hard-hitting gridiron defender Willie Brown of the 80s, who I think Willie Brown was a part of the 78 championship team, if I'm not mistaken. And track and field phenom Terrence Henson. The Hall will recognize Dr. Janelle Baker, a former Rattler softball player, as this year's supporter of the year. You can go to FAMUathletics.com and read more information in terms of specifics regarding Brenda Fogel, Teresa Jenkins, Nakia Linson, Kenya Perea, Patrick Bonner Sr., Willie Brown, and Terrence Henson, as well as Dr. Janelle Baker. A good write-up here by the collaborating team of Alvin Hollins and Vaughn Wilson actually did the collab on that one. So FAMU Sports Hall of Fame. And I think, hey, we got to look out for this because they were mentioning that you'll be able to buy tickets online via the digital service, and you'll also be able to buy ads. Got to look out for that. We gotta find a way to get ourselves in there. Find out how we get some ads running in there.
We'll get the president of the association to come on and talk about the process and everything.
That's good. We'll pencil in Mr. Green on that. All right. Excuse me. Any thoughts and words, Marcus, you want to get in before we wrap up?
Well, we're embarking on, I guess, our last few games of the FAMU Athletics season with the baseball team. Just get out and support if you can, if you're in the A, or watch online and cheer on our Rattlers, and hopefully we go further than we did last year.
Championship game or bust.
Mm-hmm.
Kelvin, what do you got?
Just want to give a shout out to some of our athletic journalism support crew and staff for they were just awarded a sports Emmy and a $40,000 grant for their documentary of and I want to see it, Defy the Odds. I'm still looking for it, where is that? But yeah, we had some students who work with the athletics to get a Emmy for Defy the Odds. They were one of 6 finalists for the award, and they beat out teams from Morgan State, Delaware State, Alabama State, and Stillman College to win the $40,000 grant. So kudos, shout out. FAMU still developing and recruiting and retaining some of the best talent in all fields.
And also, we have a young man in the journalism department who is now a Bill Roden scholar, and I guess he'll be working with Anscape, formerly The Undefeated.
Jonathan David is the young man, Kelvin. He's a videographer at JONROC Films is his Twitter handle, but yeah, his Defy the Odds is the piece that he put together that won the 2023 Coca-Cola HBCU Sports Production Grant at the 44th Annual Sports Emmys. That was earlier this week. So,
in New York City.
Yeah, I reached out to him via email, via his contact. Hopefully, I'd love to be able to get him on and kind of, if you go to his website, John Rock Films, hey, it warmed my heart seeing some of the production stuff that he's put together. Man, it is some quality stuff. Quality stuff that he's put together.
And Lawrence Goss is the Roden Fellow for 2023-2024 from the FAMU School of Journalism and Graphic Communication.
Right. I'll end the show. I want to give a condolences to the friends and family of a SBI classmate of mine, Miss Christina Cooper. FAMU SBI class fall 93. I was already on the yard for a year before I transferred over to SBI in fall of 1993. Some of the things that I always, this is news that nowadays you see stuff on Facebook, and whether it is a day late or hours, we've been there already, where you see the passing of a friend, and it just, a good friend posted some great reminders about Christina and the things that I always remember about Christina, her smile. She was very focused, one of those SBI all-stars, but she had a great smile. She loved Mickey Mouse, loved Disney. And at that time, Christina, if there's this look that boy, I'm not playing with you. That look that if you don't get away from me, or I'm not taking your foolishness, that she had. Yes, stop. That Christina had. So, imagine having this beautiful smile, but at the same time can hit you with that look as a friend so eloquently stated on Facebook. And it reminded me again this year that I'm in a mode, guys, where I try to enjoy every day. I really try not to have sad days, and I thank the Lord every morning that I am able to wake up and put my feet on the ground.
Amen.
Because I think we're moving into that cycle where we're watching our icons, Tina Turner, Jim Brown, people that we've grown up with. They're leaving, and then we see our friends. We're the fortunate ones, or maybe they're the lucky ones because they're going on to heaven. But however you want to look at it, but we're seeing our friends that we have been with for 20, 30 years, or maybe even it was 2 or 3, our close friends are leaving us. And so when you get a chance to check on somebody, do it.
Yep.
When you get a chance to pray on somebody or for somebody, don't waste time. Just do it at that moment. God hears you wherever you are. And I don't even want to know why. I don't even question or ask why. I'm just as God's plan, and I'll be sad, but I'm hopeful I'll see you again. And I'm thankful that we have pictures and memories to hold on to. And I think that's how I'm living. I just turned 49 years old. I'm hopeful I get to see life as long as my dad is, but I'm just going to be thankful for every day I get, and every week that we get a chance to do this show. I'm going to be thankful about it. I'm not going to stress about what stuff doesn't work and go right the way I wanted it to. And I think and I'm thankful for being around the kids that just finished up their last day of school, praying over them, that these kids out here in these streets, that the summer doesn't eat them up, and that they still get to learn and just have fun being kids this summer. And I'm thankful for graduates, high school graduates, college graduates, community college graduates. Anybody who got to graduate or gets to graduate, I'm happy for you. So that's how I'm leaving this show today. And just with thoughts of my friend and SBI's friend, Christina Cooper, rest in heaven. And we'll see you soon. And thank you for the smile, and thank you for the look too, Christina, because I probably deserved it a few times. All right. So thanks to everybody on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for popping in, joining us today. Got to thank Charles Edmond. Go watch the Rattler Baseball tomorrow, 3 p.m., SWAC Digital Network. If you're in the A, take the afternoon off and go over to Rush Chandler Ballpark over on the campus of Georgia Tech. Go root on the Rattlers. We get ready to knock off the number 1 seed Alabama State Hornets, and should be a good time. Make sure to follow the show at ONG StrikeZone. Download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app on Google Play and Apple App Store, or wherever you can find it on the platforms. Happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. Rozier. Thank you, Mrs. Rozier, for making time, for sharing your husband with us. And be a champ this weekend, Kelvin. What up, boy? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Marcus, say hey to Mr. Green next time she comes by back there in the background. Say hey to Mr. Green. And, to the family. Hey, love you guys. You guys be well. Take care. Everybody out there. We'll see you soon. Put 2 fingers in the air, fangs up, especially in the A, and let them Hornets know that we're going to strike, and strike again when we see them out there on those base pads. Good night, everybody. Peace out.
Thank you.